so it's with the words of Matovu, our prayer of community, our prayer of sanctuary, that I welcome you all here into our sanctuary here this Shabbat morning. Those of you physically in the room with us as we celebrate Shabbat and we celebrate with Theo as he becomes Bar Mitzvah, and those of you who are joining us through the live streaming of our services. I know we have family and friends to greet in the US, in Denver, in New York, in Tel Aviv, in the Negev. That's not in the US, I do know that. That's in Israel. But whether you are here with us just to celebrate Shabbat, whether you're here to celebrate Simcha, whether you're here to remember a loved one through Yotzat, we welcome you this Shabbat. As we begin our people's cycle again, this is Shabbat Bereshit, the Shabbat of beginnings, as we restart the reading of our Torah cycle. It is also the symbol, the reminder that we have made our way through the Chagei Tishrei, through the festivals of Tishrei. In fact, the only remnant of the high holidays in this sanctuary is the shape of the sanctuary. In its circular form, that was a remnant of our Simchat Torah celebrations this past week. And it too will find its way back to its normal settings over the next few weeks. But for now, we offered our song of welcome, Matovu, on page 192. Hopefully you picked up a copy of Mishkan Tefillah, our prayer book, on your way in. I invite you to follow along and join in wherever and whenever you feel comfortable. Predominantly, we'll be offering the liturgy on the right-hand pages. And in a few moments, we'll be continuing with our prayers for help, beginning on page 194. But before that, I would like to invite our Bar Mitzvah up onto the bimah together with his parents for the presentation of his talit. What do you like? Say something. Impressed. Remember we had a rehearsal? We continue with our prayer for health on page 194. Please join me in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatza et adam b'chokhmah, uvara bo nekavim nekavim, chalulim chalulim, galui v'yadua lifnei kiseh kavadecha, she'im yipateach echad mehem, o yisatem echad mehem, אי אפשר להתקיים לעמוד לפניך, ברוך אתה אדוני, רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות.
Elohai, Elohai.
responsively by our bar mitzvah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lesavchi bina lechavchin ben yom hu velayla.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam gorkei haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaber.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbir sharumim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten li'ayef kol ha'am.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheinai me'ainai u'tnuma me'afar.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani ben horim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozei Yisrael v'givora.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam otei Yisrael v'tifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotai v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen. Harevna Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratecha b'finu. Ufi amcha beit Yisrael. B'nei anachnu v'tzetze'enu v'tzetze'ei amcha beit Yisrael. Kulanu yodeh shemecha v'lomdei Toratecha l'shma. Baruch atah Adonai amelamed Torah la'amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who teaches Torah to your people Israel and with us, perhaps even sometimes through us, to all humanity. As we turn forward to page 206 and 207, we have blessings commanding us to engage, to busy ourselves in the study of Torah. Elu devarim.
Amen.
honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. And the study of Torah encompasses them all.
The study of Torah encompasses them all because our tradition teaches that it leads to them all. And so before we finish our Brachot HaShachar, our morning blessings, we take a moment to remember the lessons of life that we've been taught, wherever it was that we were taught these lessons, as we offer a Kaddish de Rabbanan, a blessing for our teachers on page 209. For our teachers and their students and the students of their students, we ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say,
Amen.
For those who study Torah here and everywhere, may they be blessed with all they need, and let us say,
Amen.
We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say,
Amen.
We turn forward to Sukkot Zimra, our verses of Song and Psalm, on page 212.
Baruch Shema v'haya ha'olam, Baruch Hu, Baruch Osei Bereshit, Baruch Omer ve'aseh, Baruch Gozer v'kayem, Baruch merachem al ha'aretz, Baruch merachem al ha'briot, Baruch Meshalem Zachatov Mireav, Baruch Chai La'ad, V'kayam La'netzach, Baruch Adeu Matzil, Baruch Shemo.
With songs of praise, we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty. For you are the source of life in the universe. One God, life of the universe, praised and glorious ruler. Your name is eternal. Baruch atah Adonai, melech le'olam, Ashish Baruch.
We turn forward to page 214 and continue with Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat, the psalm for the Shabbat day.
Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat, Tov le'odot Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat, Tov le'odot Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלה עשור עלינה, ועלה היגיון יחידות. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה
95, Ashrei.
אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יכבדוך סלע.
אשרי העם שחלום, אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו.
תהילה לדוד, ארומים חייך מלך, ברווחה שמך לעולם ועד.
בכל יום אברכך, ונראה שמך לעולם ועד.
גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, ולגדולתו אין חקר.
דור לדור ישבח מעשיך, וגבורותיך יגידו.
הדר כבוד חודך, ודברי נפלותיך עשיך.
ועזוז נורתך יאמרו, וטובתך אספרנה.
זכר רב טובך יביעו, וצדקתך ירננו.
חנון ורחום אדוני, ערך אפיים ודל חסד.
טוב אדוני לכל, ורחמיו על כל מעשיו.
יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך, וחסידיך יברכוך.
כבוד מלכך יאמרו, וגבורתך ידברו.
להודי לבני ענף דורותיו, ובעוד אדם מלכותו.
מלכות כל העמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים, וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
הנה כל אליך יסברו, ואתה נותן לחם את אוכלם ביתו.
פותח את ידיך, ומשביע לכל הרצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתן ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל רשעים ישמיע.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יד, מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה.
Page 218. turn forward to page 223 as we bring our brief but song-filled Sukkah Zimmer to a close with the words of Yishtabach. You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours is strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Baruch atah Adonai, El Melech Gadol b'tishbachot, El ha'odaot Adon ha'niflaot, Abocheh b'shirei zimra, Melech El Chei ha'olamim. On page 224, we rise for the Chatzi Kaddish in advance of the call to prayer.
Turn to page 231. Once or twice in a lifetime, a man or woman may choose a radical leap, having heard Lech Lecha, go forth. God disturbs us towards our destiny by hard events, and by freedom's now urgent voice, which explode and confirm who we are. We don't like leaving, but God loves becoming. Baruch atah Adonai, habarcheh be'amo Yisrael ba'ahava. היום על לבביך, ושינתם לבניך, ודיברתם בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ופתרתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is a word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning. White fire, black flame. Stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established, now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice.
Begins on page 242, headed as the Tefillah. It is the central prayer of all of our services. And whether this tradition, these words resonate with you or not, the reading on the top of page 243 certainly resonates with me and how we as a community like to approach things. That is to say that we pray as if everything depends on God, but we act as if everything depends on us.
Adonai sefatai tiftach uvi agit tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham
This day and the day of Shabbat with the singing of Yismachul on the top of page 250. Shabbat which unites us in faith and hope. For Shabbat holiness which inspires sacred living. Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness. For Shabbat peace born of friendship and love, we offer thanks and blessings, O God. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. As we turn forward to the Avodah on page 254, in fact on the bottom of page 255. On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer to life, to peace, and to joy. May we find true rest, holiness in our deeds, worth in the study of Torah. Let us feed on the love of goodness. Let us drink from the love of goodness. Restrain our thirst for excess and cleanse our hearts to serve life well. On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer in life, in peace, and in joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'atcha levatcha be'iran avod. Blessed are you, Eternal One, whose presence returns life to Zion. The Hoda'ah, our prayer of thanksgiving on page 257. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imagination, we humble ourselves as we say, Modim anachnu lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, Modim anachnu lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, Modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and our future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, Modim anachnu lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, Modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, Modim anachnu lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, Modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'mechem en hoded. Blessed are you, Eternal One. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving, and we do so now with Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom, Torah u'bracha, Eila chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al Yisrael, ve'al Yisrael alecha, Avinu Avinu kulanu kechad, ve'ov alecha, ki le'ovanecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sing Shalom, Torah u'bracha, Eila chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al Yisrael.
Tfilat Halev, prayer of the heart. To these thoughts, to these prayers, to these words, to these meditations, whether they be from the pages of the prayer book or the pages of our heart, we add a prayer for peace. For Seder Kriyat Torah Shabbat, the order of reading Torah on this Shabbat morning.
Oh
Anahi Adonai Elohecha, Asher Hotzetecha me'eretz Mitzrayim me'beit Avadim. I'm your eternal God, who led you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Lo yihya lecha Elohim acharim al panai. You shall have no other gods beside me. Lo tisha et shem Adonai Elohecha la'ashav. You shall not swear falsely by the name of Adonai your God. Zahor et yom haShabbat lekadsho. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Kabeb et avicha ve'et umecha. Honor your father and mother. Lo tirtzach, you shall not murder. Lo tinaf, you shall not commit adultery. Lo tignav, you shall not steal. Lo ta'aneh vere'acha ed shaker. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Lo tachmod, you shall not covet.
And so we continue, as I said in my welcoming remarks, with our people's story. We start at the very beginning because apparently it's a very good place to start. Thank you. I've used that a number of times this week. Each time it's got worse. But we don't actually start at the very beginning because those of you who are less familiar with our minhag in this congregation, our practice, we observe a triennial reading of Torah, which means that each year we read a third of the Sidra, a third of the portion. And so over an entire year, a 3-year cycle, we're able to focus on the entire scripture. So we're actually starting the final third of our Torah cycle, which takes us to the back half of the parasha of Bereshit, which is a part of the portion that is seldom lingered on, and we'll be picking up in the Plant Chumash on page 51. There are some Chumashim coming around. I don't think they've found their way to the cages underneath all of the chairs since the Mimnoraim. But we are on page 51. We are in chapter 5 of Bereshit, beginning in verse 1. And it is my privilege to hand, you've got choices of pass the yad to Epi Moritz, who will be lading for us this first aliyah, as I said, chapter 5 of Genesis, verse 1 through to 8. And for this first aliyah, an aliyah of celebration, it is my privilege to call to Torah Chava bat Mordechai Udvora va'Avraham ben Issachar u'Malka, to call to Torah Hillary and Albert. Have to do some fine. Baruch Adonai U'Barach Le'olam Va'ed. Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah. May the Holy One who blessed our forefathers and foremothers bless the two of you in honor of Torah, in honor of Shabbat, in honor of community, in honor of a bar mitzvah, but most particularly in honor of new beginnings with Parashat Bereshit, but most particularly in honor of us celebrating together with the two of you on the Bima the 162nd time collectively we've gone through this cycle with you as we celebrate significant birthdays in both of your lives. Albert, we had an opportunity to celebrate with you actually on your birthday, on Simchat Torah. There was dancing and joyous celebration just for you. We downplayed it a bit for Torah to put the focus on you and Hillary. It's just lovely to be able to be part of the celebrations of this week. The cantor is far away. He's with his family in France, having just participated in this extraordinary remembrance of Sir John Monash. But if he were here, he would say, Ad mea ke'esrim. Unto 100 as if you were 20, but you, sir, I know, are aiming for 105. So, mea v'chamesh ke'esrim. Doesn't quite work, but it is as sincere. We ask that God bless both of you, that God bless the work of your hands, that God bless all those that are dear to you, and we say together the Nomar, Amen. Mazel tov and happy birthday. We continue with our celebrations, our simchas, as we move to our second aliyah, and we call to Torah Dina bat Michael v'David ben Shmuel. We call Diane and Ian to Torah. And the yad has passed. You've brought your own. There'll be a bit of that this morning. Baruch Adonai Mevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher v'chavanu l'kol, ha'onim v'natanu lanu k'na'ato. Baruch Atah Adonai Natan Torah. Amen.
Amen. Vayehi enos 90 shana, vayoled et Kenan. Vayehi enos acharei holidot et Kenan. Chamesh esrei shana, u'shmonei me'od shana. Vayoldo banim uvanot, vayihiyu kol yemei ha'enos, chamesh shanim u'tesha me'od shana, vayamos,
Vayole panim uvanos, vayehiyu koyemei ikenan eser shanim utesha meot shana. Why ending?
Amen. Mishaberach Vatenu Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Imatenu Sarah Rivka Rachel Valeah. May the Holy One who blessed our forefathers and foremothers also bless the two of you in honor of being called to Torah, in honor of Shabbat, in honor of community, in honor of celebration, in honor of simchas, in honor of their birthdays, but most particularly in honor of your birthday and giving us the opportunity as your community to wish you the happiest of birthdays and giving us the opportunity to celebrate with you. We ask that God bless you, that God bless all those that are dear to you, that you have a year, both of you have a year of blessing and as a year of health as we take on the challenges that come with this, challenges and opportunities that come with this cycle of Torah. And we say together, Amen. As is our way, as we move forward in the reading of Torah and arrive at our third Aliyah, we separate Simcha and celebration and Simcha and celebration with remembrance. So in between these two celebrations, we take a moment to recognize that not everyone has come to synagogue this morning to celebrate with family and friends. A good many have come in remembrance of a loved one. And so for our third Aliyah, I'd like to call to Torah all of those who are observing a Yotzeit. I would like to honor the memory of their loved one by coming to Torah. The Yad passes once more. Our bimah will grow as is necessary. Okay. Baruch Adonai Mevorach Olam Va'ed.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan לנו תורת אמת,
Sheberach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. May the Holy One who blessed our forefathers and foremothers also bless each and every one of you who have accepted this Aliyah to Torah. You haven't been called to Torah, but you have come out of your own choice to Torah at this moment of remembrance, to represent those who cannot be called to Torah, those who have who you've been blessed to share your lives with, but those who are no longer with us. And I hope, our prayer is that by taking these few steps up towards the Bimah, these few steps up towards Torah, you are lifted up by the memory of their life, all the beauty of their character, all the lessons that they taught you, all the memorable moments that you shared. And our prayer is that as you step down from this Torah, as you return to your seats and you go about your week, that you remain enlivened by the beauty of the life that you were privileged to share. And as you go about your week and interact with your family and your loved ones, you do it in such a way that brings honor and blessing to their memory. Because if you can do that, if you can act in such a way as they did on their very best days, then I promise their memory will truly be for a blessing. We ask that God bless you, that God bless all those that are dear to you, most particularly that God bless the memory of those who you represent today. And we say together, Lamada. Amen. And so without hesitation, we move from remembrance back to celebration. But before we begin a series of aliyot celebrating a young man becoming bar mitzvah, it's our tradition at least that he places some context around this occasion and takes the opportunity to teach some words of Torah. I need something, that's what he needs. Otherwise he's going to be speaking extemporaneously. Sir? If you could just give yourself a little bit of a help. There are lots of things I love about this Devar Torah, but the one I particularly love most is the fact that he's going to listen to his father and enunciate every comma and every full stop and pause between the paragraphs.
Yeah. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to my bar mitzvah.
Shabbat Shalom.
My Parsha, Bereshit, is a bit of a breathtaking one. It demands a lot of attention and contains a lot of important content that helps structure our world today. In Bereshit, there are three main stories: the creation of the world, including Adam and Eve; the tragedy of Adam and Eve's children, Cain and Abel, in which Cain killed Abel because he was jealous of God liking Abel more; and then the Parsha ends with God about to flood the world with all the bad people, but then Noah catches his eye. Today I have decided to focus on Adam and Eve. In this story, Adam was created first, except God noticed that Adam was very lonely. So God decided to put Adam into a deep sleep, take a part of his body, and make it into a woman who God named Eve. When I first studied this parasha, I immediately decided that creating man before woman, or Adam before Eve, has led to sexism, sex discrimination, and gender inequality in today's society. But then I discovered that there is so much more to this. In the Hebrew text, it is never said that Adam was male. It's only written as Adam. This was pointed out to me during my time spent with the wonderful Rabbi Gersh. Later on in the text, male and female are referred to in Hebrew as Ish and Isha, meaning man and woman. But Adam was never referred to as Ish or man. This led to me to believe that male and female were created equally from Adam. Adam can be seen as one of the first examples of a non-binary person. But the interpreters of the Torah, over thousands of years, read what they wanted to read and decided that Adam must be male. I think this was ultimately decided because back then no one could begin to imagine a person without a specific gender. This misinterpretation happens all the time in the world I spend a lot of time in, the world of social media. In the pre-digital age, we had broadcasting, a range of news and opinions spread across a wide range of print, radio, and television. But now, because of the domination of social media, particularly in my age group, we have narrowcasting. We're influenced by the people we follow on social media, share the same opinions and biases, and end up only seeing a certain point of view. For example, take climate change. There are some people who believe climate change is all a hoax because their outlook is narrowcast among like-minded deniers. After watching Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs's TED Talk, I understand that if you only surround yourself with like-minded people, your views get more extreme and isolated. We should try to have face-to-face conversations with people whose views we disagree with, and discover we're all just people, and we can still be friends even if we disagree with each other. This relates to how I've approached my parasha, because due to the interpretations I was shown and grown up with, I had the view that woman came from man. This meant she was less than him. Maybe this is why women are traditionally paid less and dominated by men in society. But having looked deeper with Rabbi Lazaro, I was shown that there is no mentioning of Adam actually being a man in Bereshit. This means that the Torah was setting us up for the future so we could grow as a society with equal opinions and values. But we have taken thousands of years to catch up to its standards due to biased interpretations made many times over in the last 2,000 years. I challenge you, my family, friends, and congregants, to open up your mind to different opinions and have faith in the facts in front of you, instead of letting the misinterpretation sway you. If we can do this, then we will ensure that Torah is a living tradition and not just an artifact of a bygone world.
Herman Sanger would have said that Adam was a non-binary person, correct? Thought a lot about that the last few weeks. Often think what Herman would think. Let's continue with our aliyot, our celebration of the Simcha. You need to step down for a moment as your tutor continues with her laning, as we call to Torah in celebration of your bar mitzvah. You can stay up here, you're just not standing up there. Your grandmothers and aunts, we call to Torah Pearl bat Devora, Rachel bat Herta, Ruth Miriam bat Pearl, Georgie bat Rachel, Paula, Jeanette, Ruth, and Georgie. Baruch Adonai Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, may the Holy One who blessed our forefathers and foremothers bless. Bless the four of you in honor of Torah, in honor of Shabbat, in honor of community. community, but most particularly in honor of this young man as he becomes bar mitzvah. You've had the opportunity through our service this morning to see him lead the community in prayer. You've had an opportunity just a few moments ago to listen to him bring his very fresh, very current and very real take on our people's story. And now you get the opportunity to stand with him and celebrate with him as he marks this milestone on his journey towards adulthood with so many family and friends. And this is a really wonderful time to celebrate, to be able to mark milestones, to think about what has come before, but to also imagine what lies ahead. And that's one of the real privileges of family, is being able to mark those milestones, to share those simchas, and to be able to support on those occasions. And so we ask that God bless the four of you, that God bless all that is dear to you, and we say together in the Amen. We're going to continue with our celebration as we slip forward a generation, or as a generation or two, depending on who we're referencing. Thank you. Wow, it's a hard crowd. As we call to Torah, Freya bat Pia v'Menachem Tzvi ve'Ezra ben Pia v'Menachem Tzvi.
Vayehi metushelach sheva ushmonim shana umea shana vayoled et lamech vayehi metushelach acharei holido et lemech shtayim ushmonim shana ushva me'od shana vayoled banim uvanot vihiyu kol yamei metushelach teisha veshishim shana udsha me'od shana vayamot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. May the Holy One who blessed our forefathers and foremothers bless the two of you also in honor of Torah, in honor of Shabbat, in honor of community, in honor of those that have come to Torah before you, in honor of those that will come to Torah after you, but most particularly in honor of your little brother who today is becoming bar mitzvah, as we get to celebrate the fact that one of you is the very best of friends with him, and the other one is not. That is the nature of family, and we celebrate it with great joy today. But no, in all seriousness, I think that you have had the privilege of watching your brother grow up, take on challenges, make his way through life in his own unique way, and be able to support him in that. And that's a really wonderful thing. He has had the opportunity to sit in that chair, or it was probably over there, but a chair very similar to it, and watch each of you mark this milestone in your life. And today he has the opportunity to do that, which is a beautiful thing. And our hope, our prayer is that you get many more occasions as his brother and sister to be able to support him, but to also celebrate with him as he achieves milestones such as that which he's achieving today. We ask that God bless the two of you, that God bless all those that are dear to you. And we say together, Amen. Amen. And so we're going to jump back a generation as we call to Torah, Pia Bat Rachel v'Menachem Tzvi ben Kalman. Of course I do. I promised I'd have it for you, so let me get it. Do you want to open up Torah and show your parents what you read?
Happy is the one who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding. For its value is greater than silver, its yield than fine gold. It is more precious than rubies, no treasure can match it.
Baruch Hu Adonai Mavarah. Baruch Adonai Mavarach Olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam. Asher b'chabanu mikol amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. See where it gets his state from.
Vayehi lemech shtayim u'shmonim shana u'me'at shana vayoled ben vayikra et shemo Noach le'emo zeh Inachameinu mima'asenu u'mitzvon ya'adeinu min ha'adama asher arara Adonai Vayehi lemech acharei holido et Noach v'chamesh v'tishim shana v'chamesh me'ot shana vayoled banim uvanot Vayehi ki chechel hadam Sheva u'shmoni na u'shva me'ot shana vayamot
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher natan lanu Torat Emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Mishaberach Otenu Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah. May the Holy One who blessed our forefathers also bless the two of you in honor of Torah, in honor of Shabbat, in honor of Simcha, in honor of joy, in honor of family, both those on the bimmer and those surrounding you in this room. But most particularly in honor of this young man and the occasion of him becoming bar mitzvah in the way in which he is, with a smile from ear to ear, optimism and enthusiasm to spare, and great joy. And our hope and our prayer is that those things, that optimism, that enthusiasm, that joy, our hope is they never leave him. And that you guys as a family have the opportunity to enjoy and benefit and bask in that for as long as humanly possible. We ask that God bless each of you as individuals, but we also ask that God bless you as a couple and as parents. And we say together, Amen. Amen. I've asked our bar mitzvah to go sit down so I can call it to Torah. Ya'amod l'Torah bar mitzvah hayom Moshe ben Menachem Tzvi.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen. Vayehi Noach ben 500 shana vayoled Noach et Shem et Ham ve'et Yafet Vayehi ki hehel hadam la'rov al panai hadama uvnot yuldu lahem vayehu b'nei halachim et banot hadam ki tovot hana ויקחו להם נשים מכל אשר אחרי ויאמר אדוני לא ידען היא באדם לעולם בשגם הוא ועשה ויקחו ימינו 170 שנה הנפילים היו בארץ בימים לכם וגם אחריכם אשר יבואו בני האלוהים אל בנות האדם וילדו להם המה הגבורים אשר מעולם אנשי השם. ברוך הוא אדוני, ברוך אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת בחיי העולם נטע בתוכנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzhak Yaakov Imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah. May the Holy One who blessed our forefathers and foremothers bless you, sir, in honor of Torah, in honor of Shabbat, in honor of family, in honor of friends, in honor of community, in honor of your tutor who you represented so beautifully as you laid Torah just then, but most particularly in honor of the kavod that you bring yourself by the way you go about the things that you do, by the energy and enthusiasm that I spoke of previously, by the optimism and wisdom as we heard in your Devar Torah, and all the things that just make you, you. Those are the things that we fill this sanctuary this morning to celebrate. And we hope that those are the things that you hold fast to, together with Torah, as you move on into this next phase of your life, constantly interpreting and reinterpreting the things around you, allowing yourself to define your own path and to make it what you will. We ask that God really does bless you. As I'm going to ask your brother and sister to come back on up. I'm going to ask Ari to come forward as we offer a blessing as old as our people itself. A blessing first offered by Aaron to his sons, then from the priests to people, and in more recent times from parents and older brothers and sisters to B'nai Mitzvah. I think you should step down. It'll make your dad feel better. Do you want me to get it? Why don't you? May God bless you and keep you. May the brightness of our tradition shine down upon you and be gracious to you. And Theo, wherever it is that this journey leads you, may it continue to be a place, a path of meaning and purpose, but most of all, may it be a path of peace. And to that we can say, Keni Hiratson, may it be God's will, and we wish you Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. Simon Tov, Simon Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simon Tov, Simon Tov, Mazel Tov, Simon Tov, Simon Tov, Simon Tov, Mazel Tov. Take a moment with Torah out before us to take the opportunity to think of those in our community who are not well at this time as we offer a prayer of healing. Mishaberach It can be found back in the prayer book on page 371.
Mm-hmm.
Gavriel Bakitsa Kotvora, Eve Lustig, Annette French, Henry Gladwin, Anita Meany, Gerda Cohen, Carmela Zunda, Diana Matatia, Sue Brown, Layla Cohen, Helen Klassen, Adira Bat Rachel, Bella Magid, Andreas Piet Marsh, Rochelle Himes, Pinchas Ben Michal, Rebecca Moylan, Chana Bat-Dora, Mel Wright, and Felicity Guthrie. If you know of others that could benefit from a prayer of healing, then I invite you to share their names as my eyes meet yours. Page 370 as we give honor to the story. Continue with our Haftarah reading. Our Haftarah reading can be found in the Plaut Chumash. It comes from the prophet Isaiah, chapter 42 of the prophet Isaiah. It can be found in the Plaut Chumash on page 320. 320.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher baha ben bi'im tovim, v'ratza v'divreihem, hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, habaher b'Torah, uv Moshe avdo, v'Yisrael amo, uvin ve'er ha'emet v'tzedek. Thus says the eternal God, the one who created the heavens and stretched them out, who made the earth and all that grows in it, who gives breath to its people and spirits to all who walks on it. I, the Eternal, have called you in righteousness and taken you by the hand. I am the one who created you and made you a covenant people, a light to the nations, to open eyes that are blind, to bring the captive out of confinement, those who sit in darkness out of the dungeon. I'm the Eternal, that is my name. I will not share my glory with another, my praise with idols. My earlier promises have come to pass, and now I tell you new things. Before they appear, I tell you of them. Sing a new song to the Eternal, sing God's praise, all the earth. Let the sea roar and all it contains, you coastlines and all who live there. Let the wilderness and its towns rejoice, and villagers of Kedar in their settlements. Let those who live in Selah sing out. and shout from the mountaintops. Let them give honor to the Eternal and praise God in the coastlands. The Eternal goes out like a warrior, like a soldier in fury ready for battle, shouting and roaring to prevail over the foe. Long enough have I held my peace. I have kept still and held myself back. Now I cry out like a woman in labor. I pant and I gasp. I will destroy mountains and hills, dry up their grass and their trees. I will turn the riverbeds into desert land and empty their pools of water. I will lead the blind by roads they do not know and guide them along roads they have not traveled. I will turn their darkness into light and make straight their twisting ways. These things will I do, I will not forego them. All who trust in idols and call metal things their gods shall fall back in shame. Listen, you deaf ones, you sightless, look and see. Who is as blind as my servant, as deaf as my own messenger? Who is as blind as the one whose heart is whole, as blind as the servant of the Eternal? Seeing a lot, you notice not. Your eyes are open, yet you do not hear. The Eternal delights, for righteousness' sake, to make the teaching glorious and great. But now this people has been plundered and despoiled, trapped in holes, all of them, and immured in dungeons. They are spoiled, and no one comes to save them. They are plundered, and no one says, give it back. Who among you will listen to this? Who, listening, will take the heed for the time to come? Who allowed Jacob to be plundered? Who gave Israel to the despoilers? It was none other than the Eternal, against who they sinned, in whose ways they would not walk, in whose teaching they would not listen. Therefore, God poured out on them venomous wrath and violent war. It burned all around them, and they failed to understand. It scorched them, yet they did not take it to heart. Now thus says the Eternal One, your Creator, O Jacob, your Maker, O Israel. Have no fear, for I will redeem you. I have called you by my name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I am with you. When you pass through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be scorched. The flame shall not consume you. For I, the Eternal, am your God, the Holy One of Israel, your deliverer. I give Egypt as ransom for you, Ethiopia and Saba in exchange for you, because you are precious to me, and honored, and I love you. I give up peoples and nations in exchange for your life. Have no fear, for I am with you. I will bring your offspring from the east. I will gather you in from the west. To the north I will say, give back, and to the south, do not hold back. Bring my sons from afar, my daughters from the end of the earth. All who are called by my name, whom I created for my glory, whom I formed and made, bring forth this people. Once blind, who now have eyes, once deaf, who now have ears. Let all the nations come together, let all the peoples assemble. Who among them can explain this? Who foretold this to us? Let them be witnesses and be proved right, that all may say, it is true. You are my witnesses, says the Eternal One, my servant who I have chosen. Know me, therefore, and put your trust in me. Understand that I am the one. Before me, no God was formed, and after me, none shall be. Be sure that I am the Eternal God, and I alone can deliver you. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zu kol ha'olamim, tzadik bechol ha'de'orot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'ma'eh ve'oseh, hamdaber kayim, shekol dera'av emet v'tzedek. Al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al ha'nvi'im, ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh. Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, likdushach ve'limnucha, lechavod u'tifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lav, umavim otach, yitbarach shimcha b'fikol chai, tamid le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha'shabbat.
Amen. Yishakach. I invite the Torah to rise, the congregation to rise with it, as we offer readings now in honor of this country and the people and the state of Israel. And I invite those who are offering those readings to make their way up onto the bima. But in advance of that, we offer a blessing announcing the arrival of the new month of Cheshvan on this coming week, on this Tuesday.
Adonai,
May the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace and prosperity, a life exalted by the love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good. May the one who in ancient days led our people from slavery to freedom redeem us and all who are still enslaved from one another, making all Israel and all humanity one united people. Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan yeh b'yom shlishi haba aleinu v'al kol Yisrael tova. The new month of Cheshvan begins on this Tuesday and Wednesday. May it be a good for us, for all our people and for all humanity. We turn forward to blessings first for this country. The blessing is not that found in the Siddur, but rather an adaptation of that which we've come to offer as our congregation.
Let us give thanks for our country of Australia and all its people. Let us have dreams in this historic land of dreamers. Let the hot winds from the desert fire our imagination. Let the red soil of the plains keep us rooted to the things that matter. Let the waters of our rivers, lakes and oceans flow into our hearts, giving us depth and understanding. Help us remember those who have lived in this land before us and those who have made it their home in more recent times. Keep our eyes open to the beauty of this land. May we strive to keep its beauty present and strong. May we never be lazy in the work for peace. May we honour those who have died in defence of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they lead with justice and compassion. Let our compassion be like the encompassing coastlines of our continent. May acceptance, kindness and peace live steadily within this ancient and enduring land. Amen.
And on page 377 in the prayer book, prayer for the people in the state of Israel.
Avinu Shabashamayim, O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
And we turn back to page 374 as we return the scroll to the ark.
Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Ki niskab Shem Olavado.
No.
Each year around this time, I get at least one phone call or email or visit into my office where either a parent or a teacher comes in and says, we were just watching, it usually begins with we're watching a YouTube video because no one studies Torah from a book anymore. I was watching a YouTube video, or we were reading a story, and it was about the creation, the story that we linger on this week with Bereshit. And one of the children asked, how is it possible that there were dinosaurs when the world was created in 7 days? Honestly, I thought when I went through rabbinical school that this was just a story and it didn't actually happen in the modern world. But at least once a year, I get asked to give a rabbinic explanation of how it is possible that dinosaurs existed. We know that to be factual. When Torah doesn't necessarily account for their creation within the 7-day, or should say 6-day creation rubric, 7th-day rest, as presented in the first chapter of Genesis. And each time someone walks into my office or something arrives in my inbox that asks me this question, I get so disappointed. Not because I'm being asked the question, but because it's not the good question to ask at the start of our people's story or the retelling of our story. It's easy to explain 7 days as metaphor. It's easy to list the dinosaurs amongst the many varied creatures that were created. Just we don't know how to translate them. A saurus doesn't necessarily work in the Hebrew, whichever saurus it might be. No, the question I long for this time of year is for someone to walk into my office, a student, a teacher, a parent, and say, we were having a conversation in the car, at home, in the classroom, with the person I was playing Fortnite with. I don't really care where the conversation takes place. But what I long for is someone to walk into my office and say, we were having this conversation, and we just don't get it why in Genesis chapter 1, we're given one story of creation. And then in chapter 2, we get an entirely different, separate, and in many ways contradictory creation narrative. That question I desperately want. That question I want to teach for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. Because it goes to the heart of how it is that we as modern Jews are meant to wrestle with, to grapple with these teachings, with this tradition. The fact that the very first chapter of our people's storytelling, our dreaming, contradicts the second chapter is perhaps the greatest clue we as a people have ever been given in how it is that we should tackle it. Now, before I go on and explore that, I want to make sure we're all at least on the same page. What is the contradiction that I'm talking about? Well, the creation story, that 6 days plus 1 day off, that we know well. There are 6 windows down that side of the synagogue that tell that story. Each of the days, and at the end, God said it was good. On Tuesday, it was very good. But the rest were just good. And then in chapter 2, the whole narrative of the Garden of Eden has things created in an entirely different order, and the arrival of humanity in an entirely different way. How is it that we resolve it? Well, I can be honest with you, for the great length of Jewish tradition, we haven't sought to resolve it, we've simply ignored it. Why have a conversation that's difficult when you could just not have it? So Jewish. But in more recent times, particularly as we've been introduced to notions of of textual study, including, most particularly, documentary hypothesis, which has us looking at this literature. We challenge at this text as literature. We're challenged to try and make sense of it, just like our bar mitzvah did this morning. When he first walked into my office, you can imagine it was with a certain degree of confidence. He didn't ask if he should close the door behind him. He didn't ask if he should sit down. In fact, he walked in, closed the door behind him, sat down and said, "We need to talk about Torah." It totally stuffed everything up. He might not have used the word stuff, but he used as much emphasis as that in terms of laying a significant amount of blame on our sacred text for being the cause of many of the things that he doesn't like about the world in which we live today. And I looked at him as he, thank you for citing and referencing our conversation, as he noted and said, "I don't think it's necessarily the text. I think it's us and the way we read it. Because for too long, we haven't recognized our responsibility. Our responsibility is not to read it literally and enact it. It is, as I said, really, particularly Genesis, it is our dreaming, our imagining of how it is that we came to be as a people, arrive in the hills of Judea. And within that, there are so many valuable lessons, particularly the one offered by our bar mitzvah today. Now, at the end of your drush, we were playing around a couple of times with the words. You finished your drush. See, I took it. By saying, if we could do this, if we could reimagine the text, then we will ensure that Torah is a living tradition and not just an artifact of a bygone world. On Thursday, what I had suggested perhaps as a conclusion was something that was a little less PC than an artifact of the bygone world. I said something to the likes of, if we can do this, if we can reimagine Torah, bring it relevant, make it relevant to the world in which we live, then it will be a living tradition and not just a book written by a bunch of old, dead white guys. Because that's what, for far too many in the world in which we live, this text has become. And as a text which has all of that cultural baggage layered upon it, it is a text which is readily rejected, let go and abandoned, with nothing to offer to the modern world. And then a 13-year-old walks into a rabbi's office in Melbourne and says, Adam, that's not Ish, that's not Isha. Adam is not gendered. Is it possible that Adam is not binary? That question I hadn't been asked before. But my answer was that which you shared today. I think it is an absolutely authentic and legitimate reading of Torah. That's the reading you offered for chapter 2. What I love about your reading of chapter 2 is it's one of the very few things that is also accurately read in chapter 1. So I'm going to rewind to make your point one more time, because I think it's one that each and every person in the sanctuary today needs to be aware of, needs to take to heart, and should take away and share with friends and family, because it is a powerful lesson. If we go back to the story of the creation, we arrive at the 6th day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to its kind, animal and creeping being and beast of the land, each according to its kind." And it was so. God made the beast of the earth according to its kind, the animal according to its kind, and every creeping being on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, and Yara, I have to leave the English, because the English language fails us, because translation is commentary. We go to the Hebrew. Vayome Elohim, Naaseh Adam. I will make Adam, not man. We've translated it as man, but there are half a dozen other words in the Hebrew language for man, not including Adam. So God creates Adam in God's likeness. So Adam is quintessentially divine. They shall rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and all the animals. There's the responsibility. And then we go into verse 27. So God created Adam. Again, not man, Adam. In the divine image, God created Adam. God, comma, in the cantillation, an entire different set of musical notation. God created male and female. I know I'm overemphasizing a point articulately made by our bar mitzvah, but considering the fact that it is Parashat Bereshit, and we are beginning a new cycle of Torah, we are beginning to look at these stories one more time as new people, because we have changed if the stories haven't. And the challenge I want to bring to this community and to this congregation is the possibility that unwittingly we have allowed our cultural and historical bias to influence our reading of the text and define our relationship with it. I do not believe that the stories told in Genesis are factual. I do believe that dinosaurs are factual. But I do fundamentally believe, as a person of faith, that the stories in Genesis are true. And they offer invaluable truths for us as we move further and further into a modern world. The challenge is not in the text. The challenge is in our willingness to use our people's story as a guide to shape and influence the way in which we live in this world. Our bar mitzvah walked into my office a month ago and said, "I hate this text." You actually used the word hate. I hate this text because it is the cause of so many of the things I don't like about the world in which we live. And I looked at him and said, it's not the text. It's the people that read it and the way that read it that has been the problem. Our challenge is to use the opportunity of Bereshit to begin anew and to think how it is that we are going to read it and who we are going to let take ownership of this text. Because unless we claim it as modern thinking Jews, whether we claim it as our religious text or as our cultural text, as our historical text or as our dreaming, as long as we claim it, it will remain relevant. And that relevance is what I aspire for in this year to come. That relevance is what has been modeled for us by the newest young adult in our congregation. And that relevance is our responsibility to realize and actualize. A challenge for all of us. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom as I invite you to rise and turn to page 586 for Our Lady.
Then
our thoughts to those that are no longer with us, and ready ourselves as a community to offer the words of Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 598. We think first of those whose Shiva, the first 7 days of their passing, we're still observing as a community. We think of Andrew Bletcher, Sophie Chamovitz, Jean Hill, Ann Starr, Aaron Shanin, and Paulette Winograd. To these recent losses as a community, we also recall the passing of those whose Shloshim we are still observing, as we think of Ellen Frankel, Jack Friedman, Sylvia Gelman, Marie Gold, Janice Goldberg, Manfred Klein, Ronald Lowe, Gillian Rowley, and Rosalind Silver. And on this Shabbat Bereshit, we remember the Yortzites, the anniversaries of the passing of Sasha Alexander, Mordka Bando, Jeanette Francis Bourne, Yvonne Bentata, Queenie Bernstein, Arthur Best, Michael Cotton, Erna Curtis, Les Eisenberg, Edna Flack, Ruth Goddard, Paula Goldberg, Sylvia Green, Bert Hand, Louis Joseph Hines, Jesse Kaufman, Therese Kaufman, Laura Kippen, Richard Melzak, Rolly Mitzinski, Stella Opas, Carl Pratt, Rose Rosta, Marcia Sakanovsky, Mark Sparovniskov, Sarah Siegel, Leon Splitter, Evelyn Taft, Joy Trinoni, Richard Valentine, Max Weiner, Hugo Wolf, and Anne Zemansky. If there are other names of remembrance that you would like to add to this list of memorial, or if I inadvertently left out a name or mispronounced one of these names, I invite you to add that name as my eyes meet yours. So we think of those names as well as those whose names are in our hearts, as well for the words of Kaddish Yatom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, v'amad divrach l'tei v'amlich mochtei, v'chayachon v'yamechon v'cheidecho Beit Yisrael, v'aglav v'zman kariv v'imru, Yehei Shemei Rabbah v'vorach v'olam v'ayah, Yitbarach v'yishtabah v'yipa'ah v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yithada v'yitalei v'yitalal Shemei v'kudshah, Elam mikol brichata v'shirata, tushbachata v'lechamata, zaminan be'alma v'imru, Yehei shlama rabba mishmai, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony and high bring peace to all of us, to all Israel, to all humanity, and to that we say, Amen. Please be seated as I invite Rebecca, our president, Rebecca Silk, our president, to offer a few announcements and some greetings from our Board of Governors.
Thank you, Rabbi. And thank you, Rhonda, Joel, Ari, and the Ruach Choir for your liturgy. Thank you for being so flexible, sitting sometimes over here, sometimes over there. It was beautiful this morning. And a very warm welcome, everyone. Welcome to all our regulars. Welcome to you if you're visiting. Whether you're here for Shabbat, for celebration, to pray in community, or if you're here in memory. Welcome to the Boltman and Abraham's families and all the many family and friends who are here with them. Mazel Tov, Hilary, Albert and Diane on your birthdays. Theo, come and join me. This is the last thing you need to do before the eating, drinking and speeches. Mazel Tov, Theo, you did a really superb job leading the service. You did well at rehearsal and you were even more composed today. While there are many people here linked to your family with long connections to TBI, your main connection comes from the King David School, which you've attended since preschool, right over there. And you followed your sister and brother with their B'nai Mitzvah. as well. So to introduce you to the congregation, you attend King David School. Welcome to all your friends from Year 7 and King David School. And you're a hard-working student, and that shows in your grades. And the subjects you most enjoy are English, humanities, media and creative design. And outside of school, you love your classical dance and the opportunity to perform. And in a couple of weeks, you're in a show that's going to Sydney, and it's called We All Know What's Happening. It's set on the island of Nauru, and it sees people too young to vote confronting power, complacency, children's rights and the future. So anything related to the creative arts is what you really thrive on, and your family as well. You're a very close family and you enjoy the time that you spend together. I would almost say you have your own language in your family. Theo, you've told me you've enjoyed your bar mitzvah journey, your study with Effie and then with Jade. Yeah, the best tutors you could possibly have. And you said that's taught you about Tikkun Olam, about Jewish identity and about Hebrew. Theo, I hear that you are kind and caring to others, especially your cousins and your schoolmates. And I probably don't need to say that you are a born performer. You think deeply about issues, and we can see that you have your own opinions. And I think that whether your life journey takes you into politics or the performing arts or business or all three, I'm sure that you will excel. So I welcome you as our newest member, and we wish you well on your life journey. And here is a package that contains your bar mitzvah certificate, which you can post on your favourite social media. A certificate of membership of the Union for Progressive Judaism, our youth body, and we have a gift for you, a Kiddush cup, which you can use on Friday nights with your family. Mazel tov. Just a few announcements. Tomorrow, Sunday, our TBI Film Club is having their 50th showing. They are partnering with Project Dignity, our group that supports refugees, and showing the film The Other Side of Hope. And there will be a pre-screening talk and then a discussion afterwards. That will be 6:30 on Sunday. Commencing on Friday the 19th and continuing every third Friday of the month at our normal service time, 6:15, we're having a parallel new alternative lay-led Ma'ariv service, an opportunity for personal and communal prayer in a tranquil yet invigorating setting, and our friends Patrick and Beth will be leading that. So if you enjoyed our alternate Kol Nidre service, then Hinena will be one for you. Places are still available at our UPJ Biennial, that is the every second year conference of our entire movement, being held here in Melbourne. If you haven't booked, do go onto the website upj.org.au to book a place. 1 day is available, 2 days or 3 days, from the 15th to the 18th of November. Should be a really wonderful, wonderful time. And finally, if you haven't yet put in your order for our new high holiday prayer books, Mishkan Tefillah, do remember to do. Yeah, I would like to put order, but do remember to do that before time gets away. Flyers are available. Yeah, flyers are available in the foyer or on our website, the link as well. Thank you, Jackie and Yadja, for being our shamashim, making the service run smoothly today. And thank you, Effie, Rhonda, Caroline, Jade, and of course Theo, for laying for us. After the final song, please join us for Kiddush behind me in the Sloan Hall, which is kindly sponsored by the Abrahams and Boltman families. And firstly, return your books to the trolley. And do please thank our security volunteers on your way out. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'll just add one more brief announcement. Many of you know well about our Nourish Our Hunger program, where we look to feed community spirit and help those in our neighbourhood that are short a meal. It has been extraordinarily impactful. It's not something I wanted to be successful, but it's been extraordinarily impactful. We have expanded in the last 12 months from just a Monday night to also a Wednesday lunch, and we've been asked by the local municipality to try and extend that, and we'll be beginning this week also providing lunch on Tuesdays, and we're seeking just a few more volunteers to help flesh out the Tuesday roster. We have plenty of volunteers for Monday nights, and also for Wednesdays. But if Tuesdays, middle of the day, sometime you occasionally might have a bit of time before, Ellen Fragman in our office would love to hear from you, whether you're a member or a friend of the congregation. All hands are appreciated. A final song?
It's a fairly upbeat version of O Se Shalom from Nava Tehillah.
O Se Shalom Yiroma, Uya Se Shalom Aleinu, Ve'amo Yisrael, Ve'amo Yoshei Tevel, Ve'inu.
Please make your way into Slim Hall. As you come in, you will be greeted by cups of either grape juice or wine. The darker is wine, the lighter is grape juice. And as soon as you're looking at your offer kiddush. Therefore God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy. L'chaim tovim. And we offer motzi together. Baruch atah Adonai Amen. B'te'avon, enjoy. Just to let you know, there are going to be a few speeches and some sharing in about 15 minutes' time, so please don't run away, but eat, enjoy, and then linger.